I always thought the worst my HOA could do was fine me for leaving my trash cans out a few minutes too long until the night the floor under my basement lifted, like something alive was pushing upward from the dark. That was the moment I realized my home, my quiet, ordinary 20-year sanctuary, was sitting right above a secret tunnel the HOA had carved beneath me, and when I found a blueprint down there stamped with the signature of Guard Delilah Gray, our power-hungry HOA president, I knew this wasn't negligence. It was an attack. My name is Keith Wood, and for most of my life this house was the easiest part of my world. A 3-bedroom place with a garage big enough for my old Ford 2 maple trees I planted myself, and a workshop corner where I spent every Saturday sanding some half-finished piece of oak. My neighbor Tom Barrett lived 4 houses down, the kind of guy who'd bring over a beer before you even knew you needed one. Graywood Estates wasn't fancy, but it was home, simple, steady, peaceful. That peace died the day Delilah Gray became HOA president. Imagine a woman who wakes up every morning and chooses violence in the form of a pink blazer, a laminated rulebook, and a voice sharp enough to slice through drywall. From the moment she got elected, she treated the HOA like her personal kingdom. Fines tripled, rules multiplied, and she walked the neighborhood like a warden inspecting prison cells. She fined a guy because his wreath was off palette. She snapped photos of recycling bins like she was collecting evidence for the FBI. One afternoon, she slapped a violation on my door because a single rake was leaning against my porch railing, not blocking anything, not hurting anyone, just existing in my field of gravity. I laughed it off at the time, thinking she was just another bored suburban tyrant. But the truth was darker, much darker. The signs started small. Pink survey flags behind my fence, the same neon shade as Delilah's blazer. Strange men with measuring gear walking along the back of my lot. They wouldn't look at me, wouldn't answer questions, just muttered HOA assessment and drove off. Then the vibrations started. At first they came at night, soft like a distant generator, but soon the shaking grew strong enough to make tools rattle off the basement shelves. Then came the crack. A thin line in the concrete wall of my basement, hairline at first, by the next morning twice as long. By that evening, dust piled beneath it like breadcrumbs. I knew houses settle sure, but houses don't breathe. Houses don't hum. Houses don't thump from underneath. And right when everything felt wrong, I got a letter from the HOA. Thick envelope, bold font. Structural integrity concern. They insisted I allow a board-approved inspector inside, meaning their guy, the guy they controlled, the guy who would say exactly what Delilah wanted. I refused. 2 days later, she showed up herself, clipboard in hand, smile tight enough to snap. "Keith," she purred, "I'm concerned about your home." "Are you?" I asked, blocking the doorway. She said vibrations had been reported, that my foundation might be compromised, that it was unsafe for the community. I told her my house was fine until a month ago. She blinked, caught off guard for half a second. Refusing inspection, she warned, could be considered non-cooperative behavior. Yeah, well, digging under someone's house could be considered criminal, but I kept that part to myself. I shut the door, hard, but even as the latch clicked, I felt something cold twist in my chest like I'd just provoked a predator. Then came the night that changed everything. A loud thud shook my whole house. A frame fell off the living room wall. The basement was warm and stale, like someone had exhaled through the concrete. The crack had doubled again, and in the far corner of the slab the floor was pushing upward, bulging like something underneath was trying to break through. "Okay." "No," I whispered. "This is not normal." I dropped to my knees, scraped away loose soil dirt still warm, and uncovered a hole. A dark, narrow shaft leading down. I could smell fresh earth, machine oil, sweat, fear. I tied a rope to a support beam, looped my flashlight, and lowered myself into the unknown. What I found down there chilled me to the bone. A tunnel, reinforced with wooden beams, footprints, equipment, a generator humming softly, casting long, trembling shadows across piles of tools, and on a wooden crate, a rolled blueprint. When I unrolled it, I felt my whole world flip upside down. Graywood Estates, Homeowners Association, Infrastructure Expansion Plan. authorized by President Delilah Gray. My HOA president had signed off on a secret excavation project under my house. I thought I was going to throw up, but before I could climb back out, I heard voices echoing through the tunnel. Men. Exhausted. Nervous. Just another 20 feet, one said. We're already under the slab of Lot 27, another warned. If this shifts, the whole house could collapse. Then I heard her. Delilah. In a reflective vest of all things trying to play construction manager. We don't have time for excuses, she snapped. The sooner we get through this, the sooner we can demonstrate the structural risk and move forward with the condemnation process. Condemnation. She wasn't just digging. She was trying to get my house declared unsafe, force me out, then take the property for pennies. My backyard would probably become a walking trail or a dog park or whatever other nonsense she needed to boost her legacy. My heart pounded so loud I thought they could hear it. And then, they did. A pebble slipped under my shoe. Delilah's head whipped toward the noise. "Who's there?" she barked. Light flashed across the chamber. It swept over the dirt, over a support beam, over my hand, and then straight into my eyes. Keith Richard, the engineer, gasped. Delilah's face twisted like she'd swallowed a lemon dipped in poison. She marched forward. "You have no business being here. You're digging under my house," I snapped back. "That makes you the trespasser," she hissed. "This is an active construction zone. Under my foundation. You signed the easement authorization." "No, I didn't." Her jaw clenched. She was losing control. I held up her blueprint. I found this. For the first time since she became president, Delilah looked scared. "Keith," she growled, "if you walk out of here with that—" "Oh, I plan to." I grabbed the rope and climbed. Fast. Dirt crumbled under my boots. Richard shouted. Delilah screamed my name. But I didn't stop until my hands clawed onto the basement floor. I dragged myself out, slammed the basement door, and jammed a chair under the handle, even though it wouldn't help. But it made me feel like the house, my house, was still mine. When the adrenaline faded, I realized my whole life had just cracked open like the soil beneath me. This wasn't petty HOA overreach. This was criminal, calculated, personal. I called Tom. He arrived in 2 minutes, flat flashlight in one hand, camera in the other. When he saw the tunnel entrance, he swore under his breath and started recording everything. I swear I could have hugged the man. But I needed more than a witness. I needed expertise. So I called a structural engineer, Greg Saunders. He arrived an hour later, tired eyes, big case of tools. The moment he saw the bulging slab, he paled. "This wasn't natural movement," he said. "This is excavation stress. Keith, this is dangerous." He crouched by the hole, peeked inside, froze. "You have a full-scale tunnel under your house." "No kidding." Greg immediately filed an emergency report with the City High Collapse Risk Unauthorized Excavation Immediate Hazard. Then came the real turning point, my lawyer, Evan Turner. HOA law specialist, smooth talker, shark in a suit. After hearing everything, he didn't blink. Just said, "Keith, they're finished." He laid out a strategy that made my head spin. Freeze HOA activities, force a city inspection, expose the forged signature file injunctions, build a criminal case, dismantle every shred of Delilah's power. By 10 a.m. the next morning, city inspectors showed up with radar scanners and clipboards. When they detected the void beneath my slab, one inspector muttered, "Jesus, this is extensive." Within minutes, they issued a citywide stop work order. That's when Delilah arrived. Clipboard, pink blazer, rage simmering beneath mascara. She tried bullying her way inside, tried demanding access, tried threatening new fines. "Nope," I told her, standing behind my locked door. "You don't get to step onto my property again." She lost it, started yelling about compliance reviews and mandatory cooperation. The board behind her looked terrified because this was the first they'd heard about any tunnel. "Tell me you didn't authorize excavation under a private home," one board member whispered. Delilah didn't answer, because she couldn't. And that was the beginning of her downfall. An hour later, city officials pulled up to the HOA clubhouse. Zoning compliance officers, investigators, even a detective. Neighbors poured out like someone had announced free barbecue. Documents were seized, ledgers, binders, records, the whole rotten operation laid bare. And when Delilah tried lying her way out, the zoning chief shut her down. "Miss Gray, did you authorize unpermitted excavation beneath Lot 27? She snapped. I did it for the good of the community." Everyone gasped. The zoning chief smiled grimly. "Thank you. That is a confession." Within minutes, Detective Harris placed her under investigation. Fraud, forgery, trespass, endangerment, misuse of funds. Her pink blazer wasn't saving her now. When they escorted her toward the black SUV, she glanced back at me, eyes full of venom. "This is your fault," she whispered. I leaned in. "No, Delilah. You dug your own hole." She didn't say another word. The HOA was suspended that afternoon. The board crumbled like wet paper. Neighbors demanded the entire organization be dissolved. Investigators announced plans to fill the tunnel and repair the damage. And for the first time in weeks, the ground under my feet didn't feel hollow anymore. Just steady, quiet, mine. Because sometimes corruption doesn't kick your front door open. It creeps below your foundation, hoping you never shine a light on it. And here's the truth. I learned the hard way, if someone is willing to dig under your life, you'd better be ready to stand your ground and dig up the truth.